This video is for GCSE AQA Business Studies Unit 1, and it's a quick summary just looking at the differences between the public sector and the private sector. So just to start off with, the public sector is simply the part of the economy that is controlled by the state. And what I mean by the state is the government. So if we're looking at, because we're studying AQA, if we look at the UK and consider what services the UK government offer its people, it's the following. So some of these examples are completely funded by the government, so therefore they're free of charge. So if you think about, for example, the NHS and the healthcare service that is provided to the UK free of charge. However, and also, if you think about the police, think about fire brigades, councils and local authority services, they're completely provided by the state. There's some other areas which are perhaps subsidised by the government in some way, however they may still have some charges, but cheaper because of the government's involvement. So for example, in terms of some cases, universities or for example, nurseries. Now, how the government funds this? The government funds it via taxation. So when people are taxed, it could be based on direct tax, such as income tax or national insurance. That goes towards paying some services, or even non-direct or indirect tax, such as, for example, VAT. That all contributes towards paying for the public sector. Now, the main reason there's a belief that there is the need for the public sector is because there's certain services that the government believe are absolutely essential for consumption. So they think that if they don't offer these services or they don't subsidise these services, they'll be underconsumed or underallocated if left to the private sector. So, for example, there's certain goods. If you think about public goods, so goods that I suppose everybody, they're not excludable to anybody, everybody can use it. Think about like roads, think about street lights, think about all of those essentials that we need, even lighthouses. They're there for safety, they're there for everybody's use, but you can't really imagine the private sector selling them on the everyday retail market. There wouldn't be a demand for it, or be too expensive, or businesses believe that it wouldn't be profitable to actually offer those type of services. So the government come in to offer them. If you think about, there's also something known as merit goods, and merit goods are these services that the government believe that they are offered privately, but the government believe that they also have to offer them, because if it's just left to the private sector, then again, not everybody will be able to afford it. So if you think about education, you can have private education, but you can also have public education. Now, in terms of private education, not everybody has the income to be able to afford it. Now, if we only had private education, that means that those students would actually be left without an education, which the government believes it cannot happen. So therefore, they offer it in terms of the public sector as well. Now, when we consider the private sector, this is not state-owned. Okay, so the government, sometimes the government can hire firms from the private sector, but they do not own these companies from the private sector. So the private sector is the part of the economy that is run by individuals and companies for profit and is not state-controlled. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I've got videos for example, limited companies such as private and public, and I go into the private sector in that as well. But the companies that the type of ownership, that we've been looking at in terms of sole traders, partnerships, LTDs, PLCs, these are all part of the private sector with the aim of generating profits.